I've had this problem for quite some time, and Birds of Prey really solidified it for me. Birds of Prey and R-rated superhero movies are bad. I have not seen Birds of Prey. I'm not saying it's a bad film. From what I've heard, it's actually a pretty decent film. I don't know if it's good, bad, on a technical level. It might be perfect. I don't know. So, I already, of course, have problems with it, like the fact it's called Birds of Prey. Could have just called it Harley Quinn's movie, or obviously not just that, but something more creative than that. But I don't really like that they call it Birds of Prey because Birds of Prey is, a different team as Oracle, Black Canary, Huntress, everyone like that. So that's a problem that I have with the film. But I don't really, of course I haven't seen the film. I don't really mind the film. It's the idea of rating a superhero movie R. Now, I remember when Suicide Squad first came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, that should have been rated R. I've actually finally watched it recently. It definitely should not have been rated R, but that, of course, is besides the point. What I'm trying to get at here is that when a superhero movie is rated R, not as many people see it. And that doesn't necessarily make the film bad, but when I think of superheroes, I think of PG-13 movies. So you look at something like the Dark Knight trilogy. How successful is that? Those are all three of them are known as three of the best superhero movies of all time. A lot of people probably argue that The Dark Knight is the best superhero movie of all time. And then you look on over at, the MCU. There's not a single R-rated superhero movie in there. I must say, oh, but Joker was successful, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 were successful. Yeah, then you know what? If you're gonna make a movie starring the Joker, I wouldn't really expect it to be PG-13. A Deadpool movie, I wouldn't really expect it to be PG-13. However, looking back to the Dark Knight trilogy, why should The Batman be rated R? The Batman, the film that's going to be, coming out next year? No, 2022, I think. Why would that be rated R? Batman is his comics are rated teen. Every film he's been in prior to this, some animated ones I think were R, but for the most part, we're looking at the majority here. Like the Dark Knight trilogy, a lot of TV shows he's been in. These are all PG-13, PG stuff. Well, then why would I even be concerned that this would be rated R? I've noticed recently it's been a bit of a trend. So, I was talking about Joker, Deadpool, alright, those were kind of, they could have been rated PG-13, but it makes sense that they're rated R, right? Well, when it gets down to Birds of Prey was just a Suicide Squad sequel, and as I said earlier, Suicide Squad should definitely not have been rated R. And of course it wasn't, but a lot of people said it should have been. So why would the Batman be any different? Why would the Batman be rated R? This is where it kind of gets silly to me. Like, I mean, imagine the Dark Knight trilogy, but there's a lot more blood, a lot more gore, a lot more cursing, and harsher cursing. Like, imagine the Dark Knight trilogy like that. Would it be any better? Probably not. Would it be any worse? Probably not. It's already amazing how it is. So what we've seen from the Batman trilogy, try saying that 5 times fast. The Batman, the Batman, the Batman. Oh, that was only 3 times. Alright, let's try this again. The Batman, the Batman, the Batman, the Batman, the Batman. Alright, it still wasn't that hard. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, alright, R-rated superhero movies and the Birds of Prey syndrome, right? Yeah, so, from what we've seen from the Batman yet, it doesn't really look like it would necessarily be rated R. Now, I can kind of see points in the trailer, I'm like, alright, that's kind of harsh, but nothing too bad. Like, I mean, everything could still be made in a PG-13 way. It just might not be quite as, on the MCU light side of PG-13, if you will. Alright, but I still haven't really, made my case yet about why it's a bad thing. Well, let's look at the MCU. Everybody and their grandma knows who Thanos is. Ask everybody and their grandma who Renee Montoya is. I doubt over half of them will know. Maybe over half of them will know. I mean, probably some of them would be lying, but let's just look at a perfect world here. I mean, they just wouldn't all know, right? Because why not? Well, not everybody's seen Birds of Prey. Everyone 5 years old or older has seen Infinity War. No, like, Avengers Infinity War, the 2018 movie. I don't really think I need to say that, but whatever. For anyone who's confused, look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know why you're watching this video if you don't know what I'm talking about, but whatever, go look it up. It's a great movie. You should probably watch it. Not everyone saw Birds of Prey. Like, for example, what I said, I have not yet seen Birds of Prey in the Emancipation of One Fantabulous Heart, or whatever it's called. So no, not everyone 5 or older has seen Birds of Prey, because a lot of people skipped out on it because they were either too young to watch it, they don't really have an interest in R-rated movies, or they don't really, want to watch stuff like that in case it's like, I don't know, too much for them, if you will. It's just a lot of people hadn't seen it. Now, Batman's already a household name. I'm not saying Batman will just, no one will care about Batman if, this film's rated R. And probably still a lot more people would see it than people saw Birds of Prey because, it's just a more popular character than Harley Quinn. I mean, Harley Quinn's still pretty popular now, but not nearly as popular as Batman. So now we're 5 minutes into the video, coming up on 6, and you're probably saying, come on, dude. What does it have to do with anything? Okay, fine. Not as many people will see it. Fine, whatever. That's cool. Great, good for you. What's the problem with this? As I talked about in my epic, the Batman looks great, but or something like that. I forget what I called it, but anyways, my cool video. Go check it out about the Batman trailer. Hey, I love saying that. Just the Batman. Anyways, yeah, leave a comment if you also like saying that. But yeah, so anyways, at the end of that video, towards the end of that video, I started to talk about, I started to talk about this video, and I started to say, and I started to talk about how people just don't like DC anymore. Again, like I said in that video, don't lie to me. I know, I've experienced it firsthand. You say you're a fan of DC, people say go get some help. DC is not cool to be like. Sure, some people like Batman. If you like Superman, you're weird. Now, you're probably saying, now, what decade are you from? People like superheroes. People love the MCU. People love Iron Man. Exactly. People love Iron Man. People love the MCU. No one cares about DC anymore, and it really honestly upsets me. I genuinely get upset. I don't care what you like. I absolutely despise anime. If you like anime and hate superheroes, or just are ignorant to superheroes, dislike superhero, not dislike, don't really care about superheroes, fine, whatever. I don't care. You can dislike superheroes, you can like anime. I can't tell you what to like and dislike. When people are straight up saying DC is bad, and if you like it, why do you like it? There's nothing good about it. Marvel is so much better. Marvel makes better movies, or Disney makes better movies, I should say, than Warner Brothers. Marvel, I've never been too into Marvel. I mean, I like Spider-Man, sure, but um, there isn't really much about Marvel that totally interests me. I like the MCU, but I don't really care for the Avengers. If you look at my top 15 favorite superheroes, part 1, I'll eventually put out part 2 and 3, but right now only part 1's out, and sure, while I like the MCU, as I talk about in that video for Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, I don't really, I don't read comics with them. I only know really anything about them through the MCU. I'm more of a DC fan. Nightwing is my favorite superhero. I guess spoilers for the rest of the list, but I already talked about in my Welcome to D-Train video. Whatever. I love Nightwing. I love Batman. These are the characters I'm into. I like Green Lantern, Superman. Even though he's not on the list, I mean, I still like the Flash. I still like Wonder Woman. They're not my favorite superheroes. Not even top 15. That list is really just a general outline. The only ones that are serious are top 10 to top 5, especially top 5, definitely top 3, definitely top 4, probably even top 5. But that's besides the point. We're not talking about that in this video. What we are talking about here in this video are R-rated superhero movies and the Birds of Prey syndrome. As much as Palpatine loves democracy, I love DC. So it upsets me when people look down on these films. And The Batman looks like it could be great. It looks like it will be great. It looks like it could be a fantastic, spectacular movie. But if it's rated R, a lot of people won't see it. Now, a lot of people that I know and I've talked to and I've said these things about DC, they probably watch R-rated movies. They probably will see this movie. They'll probably like this movie. This movie being rated R is not going to ruin DC more than it is publicly perceived to be bad, if that makes sense at all. This film, if it's rated R, won't make people dislike DC more. This film's rated PG-13. It might help a little bit, but it won't make that big of a difference. I'm not thinking that this film is going to be absolutely amazing and, just kill it and everyone's going to love DC because of this film. But it being PG-13 could really just help me. If this is rated R, I'm going to be scared for the Black Adam movie. I'm going to be scared for the Snyder Cut. I'm going to be scared for everything else DC that's going to be coming out in movies because I'm genuinely terrified of what's to come. Things like Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War, Justice League Dark, of course, the original one. These things are little small things, animated movies that really are good movies that, people probably wouldn't watch even if they were rated PG-13. I mean, like, people obviously, of course, watch them, but, the audiences that are watching these films would watch them anyways if they were PG-13, and the audiences not watching these films would probably still not watch them even if they were rated PG-13, so that's besides the point. The point here is a live action in theaters. I don't think Just League Dark Apocalypse was in theaters. Maybe it was. That's besides the point once again. These big, huge, big budget. Again, maybe those films were big budget, but I hope you understand what I'm saying here about the live action films. These big, explosive films full of superheroes and big, bad guys in robot suits. These films are the ones that will really shape the public's opinion on these superheroes. Now, there are already a bunch of videos out there talking about, the public's opinion on superheroes. I'm not really here to talk about that. There's just look up DC's Heroes Bad or The Problem with DC's Heroes. I know is the name of one of the videos that tackles these problems, and these are what you should be watching for the fact that a lot of these films just aren't very good. What I'm talking about here is not the problem that the films are bad. The problem is that the films are R-rated. And again, stuff like the Joker movie, or Joker, as I believe it's called, right? There's no the in there, it's just Joker. That still did well, and Deadpool still did well, because those films really went beyond superhero films and kind of into other genres, if you will. So, for example, Joker was more of a crime film or a drama, and then Deadpool, I almost want to say it was more of a comedy. Now, Deadpool, of course, was still a superhero movie, and Deadpool 2 as well, of course, but it was very different, I mean, than other superhero films had ever been. Alright, so Joker, Deadpool, and Deadpool 2. There's three R-rated superhero films that, worked. Birds of Prey, not quite as many people saw it, but it worked. It was alright. That's four, kind of. I'd say 3.5. Alright, but let's look at the MCU. How many people would have seen the Avengers? Would the Avengers be a household name if their film was rated R? I mean, look at Deadpool, right? Most people know who Deadpool is. I'll wager most of the people at least seeing this video know who Deadpool is. However, more people, and I mean a lot of more people, know who the Avengers are compared to who Deadpool. I mean, who's this Deadpool guy? Or is he like the Avengers? That's a lot of people's reactions probably to who Deadpool is, because they don't know who Deadpool is. So basically, to sum up my points here, the MCU works because people love those films. Aren't all of them the best films? No, of course not. But the thing about those films is that they understand how to draw in audiences. If the Avengers movie was really, really bad and rated R, literally no one would care about the Avengers. Like, they would be so scarred for life after watching that film, they wouldn't watch any other thing that said The Avengers. However, it's a decent film, pretty good actually. A lot of the MCU films are decent, but The Avengers is quite good. And, it's PG-13. A lot of people ended up seeing it. So, again, to sum everything up, the Avengers and the MCU work because they're PG-13. And they're good films, sure, but a lot of their success comes from kids, teenagers, people watching their films that might not watch it otherwise if they were, rated R. Some of them aren't the best, but for example, let's look at Age of Ultron. I personally love Age of Ultron, but not everyone does. That's acceptable. That's fine. I don't really, I can see where they're coming from. There's a lot of stuff in there that I personally don't like. A lot of stuff I do like though. But I'm digressing here. The point is though that the success of the MCU, at least a lot of it, comes from them being family friendly. A lot more people saw them. Birds of Prey, not as many people saw it, and that's why I'm calling this the Birds of Prey syndrome. It's not the Birds of Prey's fault, but it's the problem with the Birds of Prey. That was kind of the first one that really, really grinded my gears. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, the last straw. That's why I'm calling it the Birds of Prey syndrome, in case you were curious about that at all. So, if The Batman is rated PG-13, if it's rated R, it won't make too terribly much of a difference. But overall, if these films go on to be PG-13, they'll have success, hopefully. Obviously, of course, they also have to be good, but they'll have success, again, hopefully, like how the Avengers and Marvel has. If they continue to be PG-13, that is. If they continue to be R, sure, they might start producing better movies, but not as many people will see them, and that's part of what's contributed to the MCU's success. So hey, thanks for watching today's video. I know it's a bit of a different type than I usually do, more video essay almost, if you will. It's something that I've really wanted to do for a long time. Now that I've finally created my channel recently, I have the happy opportunity to do that. So thank you for watching the video all the way through. Hopefully I didn't sound too obnoxious. There were a lot of points where I've never really done anything like this before, so maybe I was repetitive at some points. Please leave a comment and let me know. Like the video if you liked it, dislike the video if you disliked it. Subscribe if you like the content that I make on my channel, all that other good stuff. And, with all that being said, stay awesome.